Hey everyone, Dad Jokes Pwn here, back for another video. Today we're going to be discussing the most efficient way to play anime fighters. Essentially, I want to give players, whether you're just starting out or you've been playing the game for a while and could just use some tips to get stronger, a roadmap to go from noob to pro. We'll go over the current currencies in the game, the different types of teams which help you obtain those currencies, the ideal way to follow the gameplay loop, as well as how to best take advantage of weekend events, and also a myriad of other tips and tricks. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how the game works and how to take full advantage of everything it has to offer to get stronger. So to start out with, I definitely want to discuss currencies because at this point there are a few to go over. Firstly, yen. Yen is the base lifeblood of the game, and without yen, you can't summon fighters, at least not without spending Robux anyway. Um, and without summoning fighters, the game comes to a screeching halt. You have to be able to summon fighters to get the newest, most powerful units, and also so that you can fuse your units to level them up. You'll use a solid gold or a rich passive team to help boost your yen intake as well as double yen weekend events. Yen boosts and super yen boost items are another way to multiply your yen gains. Secondly, time trial shards. Time trial shards, not surprisingly, are earned through running time trials. With the three different difficulty levels now available in the game, players can pick which one best suits their current progress in the game. Obviously, starters are going to be in the lowest level, the easiest, number one. Mid-level players are going to be in medium, and also I would argue that medium is the easiest and most efficient place to just farm out time trial shards. And then, of course, the greater number three is the highest level of challenge and also a pretty high yield place for yen, actually. Um, so that's good to keep in mind as well. For time trial shard farming, you're going to make use of a team which boosts your drop chance. So passives like Collector, Generous, or the new Draconic passive, which just came out in Update 22, help with that. Additionally, drop boost and super drop boost items help multiply your drop chance, as does the drop weekend event. Thirdly, defense tokens. Defense tokens are purchased with time trial shards. Alternatively, you can win them on the spin wheel if you happen to get super lucky. I'll demonstrate here. It's almost time for me to respin. But if you happen to get lucky and be that 1.5% chance, you can roll yourself up a defense token. I've done it a few times. It's not super common, but it can happen. Also, of course, you can get them from codes that Direb puts out, and you can take advantage in the code section here. Every now and then, those codes will contain a defense token. Defense tokens, of course, are used to activate one of the 6 defense modes in the game. The defense platforms are found in Crazy Town, Walled City, Cursed High, Lucky Kingdom, Divine Coliseum, and finally, Psychic City. This game mode is a place where you can go fight invading enemies, and in turn, you'll earn multi-open stars. Given the potential value of defense tokens in later worlds, I strongly encourage players to save their defense tokens until they get a bit stronger so that they can capitalize on much higher drop rates in later islands. Number 4, multi-open stars. Multi-open stars are a currency which allow players to forcibly open their inventories worth of fighters. This makes these stars extremely sought after, as it's the most efficient way to not only open a lot of stars to try to get rare, stronger fighters, but it's also the most effective way to get a lot of fighters to fuse into other characters and increase their levels. Number 5, fruit. Fruit are used for a variety of functions in anime fighters, and they come in 5 different varieties: epic, legendary, mythic, Secret, and Divine. They can be used to make a fighter shiny at the shiny machine in Chimera Jungle. Many hearts have been broken at the shiny machine. You've all seen videos, I'm sure. Fruit can also be used to add talent points to fighters in Destiny Island to increase the fighter's base damage, ultimate attack damage, attack speed, as well as movement speed. Fruit can be fused into more rare fruit at a 10-to-1 ratio at the fruit fusion machine in Empty Dimension, and can also be broken into less rare fruit at the reverse fusion machine, also in Empty Dimension, at a 1-to-5 ratio. I wouldn't recommend ever doing this. It doesn't really seem like a worthwhile function in the game to me. Players earn fruit from destroying meteors, which occasionally pop up in a random island. It's announced in the chat and pops up and lets you know where it is. Meteor showers are a fun addition to the game from several updates back, which caused several meteor showers to spawn in a very short period of time. I've seen as many as 8 spawn in within a couple of minutes, and they can land in any island and can replace any normal enemy, but not bosses. This includes secret hidden enemies, which can make some meteors very tricky to find. Raid tickets. Raid tickets are used to join raid fights. They can be obtained from the daily raid ticket function in the items bag or from the spin wheel. Occasionally we'll get raid tickets from codes that Direb provides. Raid shards. Raid shards are earned from defeating raids. Different islands have different levels of difficulty for the raid, and there is also an additional difficulty modifier of massive, which are much more difficult raids, but they also drop significantly more raid shards. Raid shards are used in the crafting machine located on each island to convert 3 mythical fighters or 5 shiny mythical fighters from that world into a much stronger crafted unit. Raid shards are also used to reroll passives for free. In my experience in anime fighters, the game boils down essentially to a very specific and almost predictable gameplay loop. Anime fighters gameplay is very cyclical. Once you learn this, you can begin to plan ahead and be as prepared as possible for the next advantageous weekend event, allowing you to maximize your playtime. I've developed this flowchart to allow you to visualize what I'm talking about. I indicated that yen is the first and most basic currency in the game, highlighted here. As you can see, I've included it in the flowchart, and coming off of it is the team which helps the most in earning that currency. Solid gold or rich will also work, and the rare passive from the Christmas event, generous, also helps with this, but to a lesser degree than does solid gold. Solid gold is definitely the meta when it comes to just straight yen farming. Following yen farming, you see here time trial grinding. Obviously I abbreviated time trial to TT, and it's important to note that time trial can also give a fairly significant amount of yen, especially on double yen weekends, so players can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone in that regard. Grinding out your time trial shards allows you to buy things like boosts and defense tokens. A collector team, or more recently a draconic team, as of update 22, will allow you to boost your drop chance and earn more shards per run. Time trial grinding can be enhanced significantly by bonus damage events as well as drop events. The next cycle in the loop is defense mode grinding. It's important to have farmed and saved up enough defense mode tokens to allow you to run defense modes and earn multi-open stars. These are best run during drop events to maximize the value of your token, but it can also be handy to run them during damage bonus events to help you push farther than you could otherwise, or just to speed up the process. Defense mode grinding, like time trial grinding, is enhanced by your drop chance, so it's important to have a team with solid passives like Collector, Generous, or Draconic to maximize your runs. Having multi-open stars is important for when the game opens up an XP event or a luck event. I love to use tons of multi-opens to efficiently level up my fighters during XP events, where I can gain levels in half or even 1/3 of the time it would take without an event. I strongly recommend taking the time to search after each multi-open to see if you've gotten any new fighters with crucial passives like Rich, Solid Gold, Collector, Draconic, Leader, or anything else you might need at that time. Having a team with the lucky passive is extremely helpful in these situations, as it increases your luck rating and therefore makes you more likely to get the most sought after fighters rather than just commons and rares. While you won't see it on the flowchart because you have to do it constantly, grinding fruit from meteor drops is also instrumental to growing your teams. I also see individuals ask all the time, should I make this particular unit shiny with X number of fruit? And quite often the number of fruit is laughably low, especially for divines or secrets. And my advice is always play it safe. Unless this is a unit that you have duplicates of, so say you're a little more advanced in the game and you've managed to pull 5 secrets from a world. Sure, by all means, go nuts and try a few rolls with just a couple fruit or a single fruit with very low percentages and see where it gets you. If this is one of your primary damage fighters and you really need it to continue your growth in the game, do not try to make it shiny with a low number of fruit. It's absolutely foolish to do so. The game shows you the percentage risk that you're taking, and if you fail, you're going to lose that fighter and all of the effort that you've put into it. And I absolutely hate to see that happen, especially with newer people who get a really good unit that they're super excited about. They want to make it shiny because shiny units are cool. I mean, everybody knows that. And they turn around and lose it, and it's so disheartening. And it's heartbreaking to see individuals lose their units when they needed them. And that's why in my videos I tend to overdo it and kind of stack the odds in my favor, especially if it's a unit that I've put a lot of XP into, if it's something that I've worked hard to get a really good passive on. I don't want to mess around and lose it. So yeah, I absolutely stack the odds in my favor. I make sure that the percentage is as high as I can possibly get it, and I therefore mitigate the risk of losing my unit that I've worked so hard to improve and have ready to be converted over to shiny. Don't mess around and lose units you need. It's not worth it. And if you're just patient, you'll eventually have enough fruit to give yourself a decent chance. And of course, there are those times where you have a high percentage and the numbers just don't add up in your favor and you lose it even though you have like an 80% chance to succeed. I've seen that. I had an individual in my shiny femto or shiny red bat video comment that he lost his with a pretty high, a painfully high percentage to succeed. I believe it was 70% if I remember correctly. And it's just heartbreaking when that happens. It can happen. Honestly, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Rev programmed the game for individuals to lose units. If anything, reset it back to level 1 or something like that. Don't kill your players' enthusiasm for the game by costing them a hard-earned, in many cases, unit. I just think that's bad game design, but I don't design the game, so my opinion at the end of the day doesn't really count. But that's my take on whether or not you should convert a unit to shiny, only if it's a very safe bet, only if you understand that there's definitely a chance that you could lose that unit, and if you just can't get by without it, don't try it. Now, naturally, I can't do a noob to pro video without discussing the elephant in the room. There's a significant disparity between playing this game free to play and playing it when spending is an option. There's no question that spending Robux gives you a huge advantage, especially when it comes to game passes. In my mind, there are 7 game passes that you just can't skip. Not having them makes the game way more difficult to progress, and it just feels bad to play without them. Number 1, Auto Clicker. The game is practically unplayable without auto-clicker. It provides easy, passive damage and benefits from your fighters becoming stronger as it raises your DPC, or damage per click. You can manually click an icon at the bottom of the screen, but it's garbage to have to do so. Number 2. Double yen. Yen is such a fundamental currency that not having the ability to get twice as much of it for the same amount of work is just silly. Not having double yen makes the game even more grindy, and it's already too grindy as it is. Number 3. Double XP. XP is vital to the growth of your character levels, and therefore strength. This is another situation where without this game pass, you're doing literally twice as much work to get from point A to point B, and it just feels bad. Number 4. Magnet. Magnet allows you to collect any drops from a distance, cutting down on the need to run around. This also helps AFK grinding, because otherwise the drops would eventually just disappear if you don't run up and claim them. While you can certainly play without it, it's totally worth the low cost to pick up Magnet. Number 5. Sprint. Meteors only last 5 minutes, and sometimes you have to wander around on a map for a while before you can find it. Being able to move more quickly helps with the slog of getting around from one place to the next. It also helps you keep up in the time trial if you're running with a group. It sucks to be left behind because inconsiderate people hit the button and you couldn't get in the room in time. Number 6. Teleport. Being able to just teleport yourself to any world without having to run back to the entrance to an island is a lifesaver when it comes to navigating through anime fighters. Anytime I play on an alt without this game pass, I can't stand it. Number 7. All others. Every other game pass in anime fighters has its benefits. I own them all, and it makes playing anime fighters a much better experience overall. I understand not everyone has the luxury to buy them, and the game is completely playable if you're completely free to play, but it's definitely more painful. That wraps up my thoughts on game passes and allows me to transition over to my next topic, the incubator. I interact with players all the time who don't take full advantage of the incubators in the game. As a general rule of thumb, you should always have the incubators going. You want to employ the use of an incubator as soon as you're no longer able to get more than one level for it per day through other means. In other words, if I can multi-summon and continue gaining a lot of levels on a fighter, especially if I've been patient and waited for an XP event, then it's better to keep the unit out and fuse fighters into it to make it stronger. If you've gotten a fighter to a high level and it's extremely difficult to gain levels from fusing, it's definitely time to incubate. The strategy I use for incubators is putting my strongest units in them during the week, and I time it to have them back for weekend events. So that way I'll be set up to be able to pull them out Friday evening or Saturday morning, presuming you're somewhere near the Eastern time zone in the United States. If you're elsewhere, you'll need to figure out when events or new updates launch in your local time. While I have my strongest units out using them, I have other filler units in the incubator getting stronger, so that even my backup team is fairly potent. That allows me to continue doing challenging raids, grinding in while AFK, and also killing meteors in late game islands without any trouble. For example, my backup team right now, if I go ahead and equip it, you can see I'm sitting at around 651 trillion DPC. I can't stress the importance of judicious use of the incubators enough. Where should I summon or grind? What unit should I go for? I see these questions crop up all the time in the game or in various anime fighters Discord servers. The answer is simple. You should be going for the strongest units in the game. To do that, you have to be in the highest map in the game, meaning you should spend very little time in lower islands. If you're summoning a bunch of fighters on any island but the very last one, with the exception of trying to get a divine unit from the lowest island from which it's available, then you're wasting your time, your yen, and possibly your multi-open shards. The faster you can get stronger units, the easier, and more fun, in my opinion, the game eventually becomes. My strategy for grinding through worlds is to earn enough yen to buy a new island, plus some extra so that I can immediately summon stronger units in that new island. Replace your current units with the stronger units, and then go back to yen grinding. I generally farm 2 or 3 islands below what I've unlocked when leveling up, and that allows me to have a reasonable time to kill and therefore earn more yen per hour. Of course, damage and yen events help with this immensely. Passives and shiny conversion. When it comes to making fighters stronger, one of the quickest ways to do so is to make it shiny. However, a lot of players will charge forward and make a fighter shiny when it would often be a better idea to be patient and wait. A shiny fighter requires twice as many raid shards to reroll with shards, and it also requires significantly more XP to gain a level when shiny than when it's not. That's why you'll generally find that I level up my fighters up to a point where I need to start incubating them, and I also try to get them viable passives before I'll even consider converting to shiny. In summary, as I mentioned previously, trying to remember that this game is extremely cyclical, and to re-illustrate that point, I'll bring the chart back up. It essentially follows this circle and doesn't really deviate from it a whole lot. As far as events go, they've started to become a bit predictable, and actually more recently uh, we the player base have been allowed to simply vote and let Direct know what we want, and people always vote for yen and damage at the same time. Then when he disallows yen and damage, they'll vote for something else and then immediately go back to yen and damage. Um, so it is important, though, to try to have yourself prepared for whatever outcome comes up by following this cycle and always having yourself ready for the next step so that when it hits, you can take full advantage of that weekend event and therefore grow as quickly as possible. So I hope that you found this information helpful, and I hope that it allows you to grow considerably more quickly than you might have otherwise, because as a game, Anime Fighters is pretty solid, but it doesn't really do a good job of teaching players the best way to do things. It just kind of turns you loose and lets you figure it out on your own. And that can often lead to people making mistakes or simply leveling up much slower than they potentially could have because they didn't understand that making use of weekend events, items, and so on and so forth would help significantly. If you haven't already, I would definitely appreciate it if you would throw this video a like and comment down below what part you found useful, or anything that perhaps I left out and didn't include that you feel would also be useful for newer players, or even individuals who might just need some tips and tricks. Please do hit that subscribe button. It helps me a ton in growing a new channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.